I want to know. That's what I want. That's what I want to get to the teaching prac. Thank you for asking. Like, can you please just say something in the chat? Like good, bad, horrible. Please, please. I'm like desperate. You have no idea how much I want to know. Genuinely want to know how it was. Is. Yeah, I'm waiting for you. Please say something. Come on, I'm not gonna ask you to do a lot tonight. So good experience, Raf. Okay, I'll let you type so long. Just gonna give it a minute. Good, but I'm so tired. Yep, welcome to teaching. Oh, nice, Taylor. Just teasing, teasing. I know. As long as it wasn't the other way around, then I'm okay. Taylor, it's been good for everybody. Yeah. Okay, I think Charlie, you got your whole list of questions, yeah, but you can go for it. This is a safe space. Okay, everybody. I know that first kind of session is quite a rush because that assignment is so early. That first assignment. That is my next slide. I haven't forgotten about your assignment. I just need another day. Okay. I think by tomorrow. I think I am overdue. So it'll be I got like about no, I said three, but I'm lying to myself. I think I got about 8 left to go. Okay, so I should get that done tonight. I'm really sorry. Should have had it done earlier. It's just there's been a week and a bit. Yeah. So no excuses, but I'll get it out to you. Hopefully it should reflect by tomorrow. Um Then the other kind of admin stuff on Teen. Sorry, I can't help look at the comments now. Okay, I'm gonna get back to that now. Shut it down so quick. ICE tasks. So you all know about that. It's ongoing. If you need help, shout. If you're stuck on something, shout. I've made them multiple. So if you do one, you can do another one. Not the end of the world. Assignment one feedback will be coming soon, and then assignment two. I'm gonna try not talk about it too much today. It really, I mean, because we have lots of time. Is what I was saying early on. Somehow, I think they've done a lot better with scheduling this time around than last year was a bit tight. Um, so we have got quite a bit of time before we get to assignment two. There will be additional notes and extra special recording, I think, from the lead lecturer and lots of guidance on it. And it's not that hard. I don't know why we're helping you so much. I wouldn't, but apparently we are helping you so much. So there's enough guidance coming for assignment two. Obviously, if you are working ahead and you'd like to get it done, you're welcome to give me a shout. I think for the most part, I've been fast on the teams. People that have reached out to me on teams. I think there's one person where I had missed it and I, took a few days. So reach out to me. If you want to just like set up a quick like one-on-one, I'm happy to do it, just as long as you give me enough notice. Just don't do it the day before something's due. So if there's you want to go through something and you're working ahead because you want to get it done because that's just how you are, then you're welcome to give me a shot. Okay. Cool. So tonight will be light and easy. Like I said, we have some time. And if you have the energy, I'm trying to like leave some time for discussion in tonight. If you have the energy to discuss a bit, but like someone said, they're so tired. Um, yeah. So this next section is kind of one of my yeah. I like this. I like this section quite a bit because it kind of comes back to teaching. So we do all the theoretical stuff in the beginning, and this brings it back to the classroom. So this is what we're supposed to be covering. We'll probably cover this over the next 2 sessions. And then the next learning unit over the next 3, and then I think, yeah, so that kind of a structure. This is the assignment only goes up until year, and obviously the work you've done in the previous LU1 and learning unit 1 and learning unit 2. So I'm saying that to say, please feel a little bit relaxed. I know you've got a lot going on. So this is like an easy period now. Then there is a bit of a rush again before the summative assignment. So please don't complain then and say, oh, it's not enough time. Like, the idea is that you are also looking at the work and you don't leave everything for the last minute. Okay. Or the summative also isn't harderable. I mean, like it's not extremely difficult. You will recover the work. So I'm kind of confident that you'll be okay. So like I said, I really kind of enjoy this section because it really brings it back. So we're going to cover LO1, LO2, and LO3 more. It's not really not going to make you drop a personal manifesto here. I did think about doing something fun for the next class where you've got to like enter it on Mentimeter or something interactive. So it's not just me talking all the time. So this is really what we're going to look at, and we'll start touching on the competencies over here of a teacher today, but we'll elaborate it again a bit more. So I hope to not keep you for like until the very last minute, about 20 minutes or so, 25 minutes of me talking, and then I hope there'll be some questions for engagement. Yeah, and then moving forward, you'll just have stars to really stress about now and get those in. And then, like I said, the assignment is not, let me see if I can just put it up quickly. Again, which I love that we've cut this down. This used to be a lot more. You had like two essays and a bit to do here before. So it's really only the one essay again. Okay. And it, like I said, it focuses on the role players, and it's focused on what we've done in Learning Unit 3. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but maybe have a look now. So you'll see the stuff I'm talking about, the role of the state, parents in the community, I'm talking about today. The positions of lock, plate, mo, I'll talk about today. Okay, and we'll talk about the role of teaching a bit. So already we're starting to cover the work for that assignment. And again, it's all in relation to the case study, the same male and guardian case study. So we'll kind of talk about it. I don't want to talk about it too much in relation to the example now. So my plan was like the next session is that I'll try to do a bit more practical, but not using this school as an example, but another fictitious kind of institution. Okay, everyone. Sound good? Comfortable? We won't be too long, so give me like maximum focus for as long as you can. While I talk through a lot. Sorry, I can't see if there's anyone. Oh, there is a thumbs up. Thank you. Oh, goodness. Okay. So really it says next 50 minutes, but I don't think we'll be there all 50 minutes. So the two, I guess, big questions that comes from this learning unit is really why do we educate in the first place? And then who teaches and how, and under why, you'll see there's some more under this, like why educate, but also who controls it, who makes the decisions around education, and what are we following in this country. So maybe just to get you going, I don't expect you to answer. I'd love if someone did engage with it. I would love that. But even if you don't engage with it now, I'm pausing so that you can think about it. Always says everybody has an answer inside of them, whether you want to say it out loud or not. Yeah, you might not want to, but inside of your body, soul, mind, heart, you have an answer to this question now. So just pause and think about that for a second. I mean, I'd love if someone spoke. You want to put your hand up. So this is a common argument that education's fault. Our education system is so bad, it's so broken. We spend so much money in education, but still there's this massive shortage of critical skills, high unemployment, poverty, etc., etc. Do you think education is to blame for that? Be nice. So maybe say yes or no in the comments. Yeah, Taylor, go for it, please.
I think it's actually a few factors, and I don't believe education is the only thing to blame. I think
Mm-hmm.
that the expectations put on teachers from the government perspective, to just kind of like push students through is one of the bigger things. I think that students are not reading enough because parents don't put enough emphasis on reading and learning new things. Um, and like last lecture, I think there's AI that has like some, role in that as well. So obviously, I think the education is as strong as the laws that govern it, unfortunately.
You like
That's my thoughts.
You're like answering you kind of stealing my whole lecture now because you touched on most of what we're going to cover now. So yeah, I mean, I'm saying first you're right, and then I'm going to push you for another question. So yes, you're right. I mean, lots of other factors. But so if you take just this statement on me, just this statement as it reads now, would you say, maybe I should give you your options. Well, let's be firm. Yes or no? I know what you said. There's other factors, and I agree with you. But if on this, because I mean, this is normally like a news headline that you'll see somewhere. You know, poor education is causing whatever in our country. So yes or no? Do you think education is to blame? I'm not asking. No. Anyone else brave enough to chance an answer? Oh, I see people typing. No, no. I see people. Hmm. I wanna say yes just to like cause a bit of drama. Yeah. Um, I think it's let's get the right country. It Malaysia or Singapore. One of them. Highest unemployment ever, gross unemployment, poverty everywhere, all of the above. Um, they invested heavily in an education system, heavily in the education system. And the country is now one of the fastest growing, lowest inequality, um, highly technical, etc. I mean, obviously, like you said, there are other factors, but they made that one big investment and everything really changed. I know there are other things. Hmm. Okay. Education system? No. Oh, here you go. Oh, Taylor Jane, did you do some pre-reading here of my on this section? Because yeah. Um, and you see now you refer to those also. Does parenting shape who we become more than schooling does? Okay, next one. Just a yes or a no. So, does parenting shape who we become more than schooling does? Yes or no, it doesn't. Totally. Oh wow. Yes. Wow. Oh, we would have so much fun debating this, all of you. I mean, I would chance a no. Yeah. I mean, how many hours? I don't know how many of you have children. Don't know how many of you have. I'm saying this because I'm completely. Um, okay, I see what you're saying, Strauss. And I mean, I'm going through my own little existential crisis of if I count the amount of time that I actually spend with my children, um, because of work and life and adulting. I mean, what do I get? Maybe an hour or two a day, and then obviously on the weekend. Maybe an hour or two. But I mean, the morning is just shouting to get them to school, and then it's another hour of shouting to get them into the bath, and in between there's some fun. They're at school for 8 hours a day. Um, or you come from a very good home, well-structured home, good, whatever, middle class, even you might even be rich. And I don't know, I find that then, I mean, like, I feel like this is the debate around homeschooling, even. Do you send your child to school because at school they're going to get all into all of those negative influences, whereas if it's at home, they're safe and they can be protected and not influenced. Like the story of like good kids going bad just because of the friends they hung around with at school. Hmm. Um, I'm gonna make this long story short. My wife and I had this debate with this one lady who's like, she's clever, she's an academic, a professor, and we're just having some kiddies play and talking about children and school. And then this debate about religion in school came up, and something else, oh, the talk around sex education and that must be in school. And she was saying, I don't want any of that nonsense in school. They must just learn maths and science and geography. Everything else about life, I'll teach them at home. And we were like, whoa, 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 whoa. That's a weird way of separating like school and real life. Anyway, mm, okay, just putting it out there. One more, and we're gonna get it going. I think this is kind of straightforward. So I want to ask you to yes or no, but it's an important question for some of the concepts that we're gonna deal with next. I am reading your comments, at home, especially when children are small. Yeah. Mm, Yeah. Sorry, I'm just reading through. Okay, I think this is kind of straightforward. Is education valuable in itself, in and of itself, or only for what it gets you? And I think this is again what Taylor, like I said, this is why I said you're stealing my lecture, because you already mentioned this, that it's not just about what it is, it's about more than that. Okay, so in your prescribed book, whoever owns it, and maybe I've looked for it, there's like a pretty diagram. I didn't do the pretty diagram, that shows the three various lenses that impact on education, on this concept of education. So is it a sociological exercise? Should education be institutional, or is it about kind of the general enlightenment? So I think these are important. And if I told you, you can't say it must be all of them. What is your view on it? What is one view on it? Um, as a social institution, shaping and shaped by society? Is it an organized, regulated system where it's got schools, curricular qualifications, and policy? And is it seen as intrinsically valuable, developing the mind and the person for its own sake? So, if you had to consider the South African education system, Taylor, or structure that we have in place at the moment, like, do you think we tick all three blocks? I mean, I know you can say we tick one or two of them, which I'm sure you can say with confidence, but do you think that we tick all three?
No,
No? Anyone
I don't
else?
think so.
I know,
I
I
think
know,
that,
no. Yeah, go.
sorry, I think that in the meantime, the way it stands, I think we mainly just doing institutional because it's what's expected of our countries to educate our um what's the word I'm looking for? Our children. But I think for the most part, it's just ticking a box.
I think maybe another question to add what you're saying, to educate our children for what? If you look at I don't have a CAPS document open now. I'll try and get one open. If you look at the CAPS document and the foreword in the CAPS document, it speaks about preparing learners or children for the world of work and for careers in higher education, and obviously to be contributing members to society. But through that, to be contributing members to society, kind of by going into the world of work and or gaining access into higher education institutions. Now, this is me personally. This is not on your test. This is not something that you have to answer or agree with. Um, I really don't like that part of the CAPS curriculum. If that's how we're going into this, I feel like we're doomed from the beginning. If it only considers like life as job, you know, or life as going to university as that's it. That's why you're here. Um, but it makes sense, no? Isn't that exactly what our system is set up for? That's what it feels like to me. We we're not doing it very well, but it's set up to teach him to go and sit in straight lines and work in an office or go to university or try to go to university and then get rejected. Um, so if you look at someone like, sorry, so sociological, if you look at a country like the Japanese, or even, I mean, maybe not the Finns, but the Japanese, for example, I think it's up to, I always get this wrong, so correct. So my apologies if I'm wrong, but I think it's like up to grade three, like the equivalent of a certain age, where there's no formal curriculum, or there is but there's no, like, the focus is on nature and on well-being and being a good person in society. Like, there's no counting and maths and science and tests and standardized testing, that kind of stuff in all of those formative years. Like, that's the important focus for them. And then it shifts, I guess, with some institutional, because at the end, look, these children are still killing themselves and committing suicide to get into like top institutions. So they've still got that end goal in mind. So I'm critiquing South Africa, but I'm saying others also aren't perfect. Like, they have a good start. They learn about the environment and keep like just basic culture, keeping clean. It's a spotless city, country. Um, but I mean, at the end, it still kind of leans towards the more institutional outcome. Um, and then I think if you look at, yeah, like your Nordic, like the Finnish education system, they're really good. I mean, And I think that's again the approach there is that there's no teacher without a master's degree. And I think once you get to like level of masters, you are able to question this. Like you aren't not no offense to you, PGC, I'm one of you, but you've had more time to engage with like some of these thoughts. Anyway, I digress a bit. So let's just go into some of them. I have spoken about it now, but just in a South African context. So the sociological dimension speaks about that education is shaped by and reshapes society. Um, and its inequalities, its labor needs, and its cohesion. So like Taylor said, I think this is not a tick, but a big like cross. This is I mean, is it happening in our country? I had this debate the other day with some young people who were talking about democracy and voting and how they feel like there's no point in voting, et cetera, it doesn't change anything, and so on and so on. And so the option is to rather do nothing. Um, and so I wonder about the education system that's been punting like freedom, democratic values, etc. for so, I mean, I was saying we are a young country, is my response. And so the judgment I felt was a bit harsh. Like we still needed years to evolve. But I don't feel the same way about the education system, if that makes sense. So what this sociological dimension does do well is it does acknowledge, the elephant in the room, that we have got a very unique history and past. Okay. And so in doing that, the response has been stuff like the no fee schools, the focus in the National Development Plan on basic education, that there is some hope that education will lead to social transformation. Whether or not we're there or not, is still up for debate. Institutional dimension, exactly what you said. This is really what we are driven by. So the formal regulated structures. So, the one thing we do have in place very well, I mean, the CAPS curriculum, which has come after several curricula or attempts at a curriculum. So I'm not saying it's the best, but yeah, I hope it keeps evolving and changing is my hope for the curriculum. We have things in place like SACE registration to safeguard against, just to keep it a professional industry education. And then other policies like the minimum requirements for teacher education qualifications. So these are some of the main mechanisms in place to govern and to structure, education in the country. Um, yeah, can't do too much at once. And then obviously general enlightenment is that we should be moving beyond, these systems and jobs. So questions around so over here we assume, like I said, the curriculum is all good, having caps, etc. We're saying we have to move beyond that. Um, so looking at stuff around dignity, self-realization, decolonizing, which has happened and it is happening in the curriculum. The history curriculum has changed. When I was at school, all we learned about was Jan van Riebeeck and company, and the Dutch East India Company, etc. And that has changed significantly. So there has been change um, in the systems. Okay, leading us to where we are now, which kind of goes beyond those three aspects of sociological, institutional, and enlightenment, where we start looking at the democratic intention of education. Um, okay, yeah, I struggle with this. Schools are expected to build the reasoning, tolerance, and participation of a young democracy. Where would you say this happens? If you looked at what do we have here? We have commerce people in here, we have English people in here, we have life orientation people in here, and what else? So commerce means accounting, business studies, EMS, economics, maths we have in here. I think we should have a few of all of you. And that's a good pool of subjects. So out of those subjects, the commercial ones, business studies, accounting, economics, English, life orientation, mathematics. So out of those options, do your subjects speak to this? Which subject speaks to this? Do they all speak to this year? Does your math, I know you don't know all of it yet, you haven't worked through all of it yet, but you've seen some of it all on your own experience. Does maths lend itself to building a democratic democracy and more participation amongst young people? I don't just mean things like voting, but just building these young people. Maybe I framed that question badly. My answer is, I think the only place they would say that this should be built into every lesson. So things like reasoning, tolerance, participation. So yes, it should be in a maths class where you're figuring out the sum or in a group and you're doing a problem together. You should be learning those same lessons there. I mean, the only place where anything around democracy is clearly spoken about is life orientation. And you all know how life orientation goes. I also did life orientation. I'm not judging life orientation. I don't mock life orientation. I think it's the most important subject, but I don't think it's treated with any any importance at all. Um, so yeah, the only place where this happens is like in the life orientation thing. So how can we say that education is like aiming for democracy and citizenship? Obviously, it should be built in here and there in other subjects, but I mean, in reality, it's not. So I guess my point is we're still a little bit far off. Okay, moving on. Um, so from some of the background around what constitutes or how we think about education, sociological, institutional, etc. Who should decide on the aims of education? So I'm going to give you a second or two. You have to choose one. So do you think that, so this is based on the work of Plato, that the state has control of education? Based on the work of Locke, some of you said already about parenting. Should parents have control of the education system or education or community? Should the community have more say in education? Or is it more up to the individual? And then considering the world we live in now, AI, homeschooling, should education be up to parents and the individual to decide on their own schooling for their child? I'm gonna wait for you. You have to give me an answer in the thing. I'll give you a minute. You can just type down either state, parent, community, liberal. So I just see your comment now, Taylor. I know my English side does teaches media literacy and critical thinking. Hmm. Sure. Critical thinking is such a trigger for me. I wonder, like, there's always assumption that people really know how to do it. Think critically about this work, but I don't know if we ever really teach them to do it. But that's my own question, not for now. Any thoughts at all? Oh, please, Sarah. Thank you.
Um, yeah, I think this is a difficult one because I want to say that it should be professionals, but then when you get down to the nitty-gritty of who's awarded the term of professional, yeah, it's quite difficult. Um, so that's
You
just what
mean
I'm
like
thinking.
you
Yeah,
mean
like
like academics
no,
and
like somebody who
teachers and
studied, yeah, somebody who studied what um the well-being of children and what they need to succeed and
mm,
how what what improves critical thinking, people who study that. um that's what I would say. That's
so people like
who
so
should
I hear you.
decide. Yeah.
I like it. But so let's assume big assumption that within the state control option that all those policies and all those curricula, etc., that they design, normally, I mean, the government isn't always the expert. They normally bring in experts. So when there's a curriculum being designed, they'll bring in what I guess whoever they decide are the experts to work on a curriculum or a policy, etc. And they have oversight and they're involved. Um,
Yeah, I would say out of the four options, then yeah, state control
oh,
is probably the safest.
look at you siding with Plato. Look at you.
It
Okay.
can't be parental because some parents um they have the best interest, for the kid at heart, but they don't really know at times what that kid really needs. It's like they're too close to the situation.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Okay.
that's my thoughts.
Okay. Strauss, very State dictatorship, lock substitute parents blind spots. It's a community undermining personal agency. Liberal promoting both information and personal agency, but must keep grounded. I feel like I feel like Strauss is saying liberal. Or is it a question mark? Hmm.
I must say, I think with a liberal, people must be very careful. I mean, all of this is like a balancing act, but I mean, yeah, otherwise, I don't know, I think things could become a bit delusional.
Mm. Yeah, it is a balancing act. I mean, don't you think they're delusional now? A little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. Um, I mean, maybe, yeah, don't say that now. Yes, Akona, and then I'm gonna read Taylor's. Yeah, Akona, go for it.
Hi, good evening. As one said, it's a difficult one, but I believe since we are also a democratic country, so in this case, I believe the state and the community are both involved.
Should be involved, or they are involved.
Yes, should be involved.
And
Like the
parents,
other one who's mentioned that professionals should be involved. So I believe the professionals, they are coming from the community, assisting the government in drafting out the aims of the of education.
okay, maybe let
Yes.
me put on the next one. I hear you. Um, I mean, you're breaking the rules of my game because I'm making you choose one. So if you say two, then you're opening up a can. I mean, that's what I said earlier on. I guess the right answer will always be a combination of all of it, isn't it? That would be the best if you could have a little bit of everything, the best of everybody. But I mean, that's not really what's happening in reality, you know. Mm, so let's have a look at what they mean by this and talk about some more. So under Plato's rule, Plato's belief, the state shapes education to serve the good of the whole society. That's why the state should be in control. So take away the politics of it and take away corruption and all the other nonsense. But just if it was a functioning state, um, I don't want to use the Western countries that are doing it well. That feels like an unfair comparison. Um, so I mean, we are a 20-year-old democracy and they are hundreds of years old. So they've had more time to get onto this. But if you think of a good example of this, like Finland, etc., to serve the good of the whole society, that sounds a lot better. Then I'd go for state control, taking away corruption and all the other nonsense. Parents hold the primary right and duty to educate their own children. So not that what you said was wrong. But so the understanding here is, and I think this goes back to very old school, like when children were at home, that you also, your children, like you said, you're too close, but that is actually why they cited it as an advantage, if you are too close, because you have your child's best interest at heart all the time. And it is parents' responsibility to kind of create children, not this idea of passing it over to teachers to educate our children. Local bodies, so community control. So local bodies decide. So SA school governing bodies are a real world version of that. So we have got school governing bodies in schools. It has become, it is kind of mandated that the school has got a community voice. But I mean but their roles also quite limited. So it sounds nice to say we do have SGBs, but school governing bodies are really like, not to downplay their role. Some are very active and some are very engaged. But essentially, things like fundraising, hiring and firing of staff. Um, but they don't, not to my knowledge, do they ever delve into like questions of curriculum. We all just accept the curriculum, as it is. They can make some policies at school, like uniform policy, which is a good thing, and hair policy, which is a good thing. So they can inform some of those decisions. So I think their role will always be supportive, but can a governing body ever, or can a community decide on an education system and structure? I don't know. I don't know. And in the liberal view, I'm so torn. And like nothing I'm saying is right. These are all questions for you to think about. So even when you answer your assignment question about your view on what should have been the right thing, there's no right or wrong. It's just how you justify your view. Okay, I mean some are blatantly wrong. Um, so I mean I'm saying that to say like my view on the liberal, I'm so torn because I think schools are an important part of socialization where people also get to learn other stuff. I mean, uh, my belief is that you only learn kind of half of the actual content at school, but you learn a lot. You learn 150% of other stuff, how to engage, how to socialize, etc. Everything. Time management, which isn't in a curriculum, but you learn that by if in school managing your stuff, etc. Um, so I think there's lots of benefits to being in a formal education structure. However, that said, like the world is a changing. I mean, whether we like it or not, and I don't know if we can stop the bus to change it back. Um, People are working from home, working on the whole digital economy is shifting. AI is gonna come in. All those factory jobs will be gone that AI can do. Not all jobs. I'm not like an AI, what's the word, alarmist. But it is happening. It's not a maybe anymore. It's not 10 years from now. It's happening now. And those things are all like, and the argument now is I do see your hand, Strauss. And like the big argument now, if you look at this model in the States, which I don't like to use, America, but they got this very cool. I don't know if you heard about the two hour learning. Have you heard about 2 hour learning? It's a school called Alpha School. Lady started this chain of schools, just now taken off, where students go in and they have like a AI driven, not they're not talking to an AI machine, but takes in like you have an interview in the beginning, they figure out your strengths, your weaknesses, what you do, all that stuff. They could build a profile of you, and that's how you start learning. And then the curriculum or the work that you get is tailored to your individual needs. So you might like visual stuff better, you might need repetition a lot more. Um, so students only do 2 hours of formal learning a day. And then the rest of the day is for kind of project-based learning. They'll work on a business plan or some environmental thing they're working on. And within that, there are other skills they're learning, but it's not a formal curriculum. And that's where all the socialization, etc. happens. So obviously, again, I'm saying like this is a combination of different things. But what I'm getting at is that I think the need for individual learning paths is becoming a clear driver in the new landscape. My own belief. Um, so who should decide? Oof, I don't have the answer. I know that's a bit let down. I don't have the answer. Strauss, you wanted to add? Do you have the final answer?
No, just for interest sake, like with the way you were talking, it just made me think of the whole predicament thing because okay, the whole school run by the state. I'm just sticking to the single train of thought. But like okay, so school run by the state, all of that. Not everyone agrees, but I've met and I don't want to generalize, but I've met a few people who were socially, pardon me, who were homeschooled, and it's like they socially awkward. Like I don't know, there's something different, but they really look like the type of people who the most would check out and say, hey, I don't know, this person's a bit weird. So it's just interesting the way that they're not socialized as much.
Yeah. I think that is the one big downfall. I mean, other people that are good homeschoolers arrange like lots of social stuff for their kids. So they get involved in sport at the local school, or so like they take the best out of the socialization part. But I hear you. So I can't say that out loud that they're weird, but I hear what you're saying. Um, but that said, the more I look at the world and having like children myself, I look at some of those other guys in school, and I don't know if I wanted to socialize like that either. Um, like you still see it in the adulthood. You can see a certain type of person that went to a certain type of school, and that's how they carry themselves now. Like, sorry if I'm offending anybody on the school, but like the oaks that are always like high-fiving and like making a joke, and those guys. I'm like, oh, I don't know if would I take a weird introvert or like this kind of an extrovert. I don't know. that socialization in itself can be weird. Well, I
So
guess
I just like to say, sorry, pardon me. I just mean to say, I myself don't mean to, sound like I'm, trying to promote any bias. I agree with you about, no disrespect, but I'm just thinking in terms of how, people, I've heard people think and talk. So once again, like you said earlier, the whole balancing act. So
Yeah.
the example you gave about still having a social club and sports and all of it, totally get you.
Yeah. No, yeah, I don't think you were saying anything funny at all. And I mean, I'm obviously look at Taylor jumping on my all boys. I did lots of work at boys' schools for a long time, so that's why I always go like the Oaks, always. Yeah, I think if I say this, and then this is going to be everyone's answer in the assignment, which is around the idea of balance, best practice, taking the best of everything. But even if you say that, you can't do all of that and say state control, So how do you, state control means the state controls it. If they decide to burn some books or remove them from the recommended book list, there's nothing you can do about it, no matter what your liberal feelings are. So yeah, I feel like it's just a good question for you to sit with as a teacher when you go in there. And before you say something like, this isn't my job to do this, the parents must do this at home. So is it, or isn't it their job to do it at home? Yeah, and so on. It's just really, I think, important questions for you to have of yourself, you know. And if you don't like the education system or the curriculum, then you must challenge it and change it and write papers and do research or go to conferences or speak to it. So that's why I say these things. I don't expect you to like sit still on this. So now that the question is all of that said around what education should be. Now for you, the person in front of the classroom, like what does all of that lovely airy fairy stuff mean? In relation to what the government has decided. Now, I'm not anti-government, please. Like when I say stuff like this, I mean, I just want to keep pushing them to just keep going. They must keep pushing and keep changing and keep improving. So we must keep questioning. Because they've limited your role. I'm going to show you my question first, and then I'm going to come back. The third one is anything missing that you would expect to see? So according to the MR Tech, which is not the teacher's Bible, but more our Bible, people like myself that are involved in teacher education. This is Mr. Tech. We call him Mr. Tech for short, if you ever hear it. It's the minimum requirements, yeah, for teacher education qualifications. So it's our guiding document. That's quite old and quite outdated, and they've been updating it for the last 8 years. So we're waiting for that. But so this is what like we refer to. So this is everything. So if we put together a course, a qualification, like a B.Ed qualification, this tells you everything that must go into the B.Ed. I'll just try to, sorry for my scrolling, sorry. Obviously some history and background to teacher education. So it does consider that. I'm going to scroll down. There's a lot in here. I just want to show you an example. So different kinds of qualifications, B.Ed, etc. And it kind of tells you what has to go. So everything that we do from a qualification perspective, like a B.Ed, PGCE, etc., has to conform to this document. So whichever institution you go to, whether it's us or another, they might have different module names and different module codes, but ultimately it must come from this document. And this kind of specifies, I'm going to scroll again, sorry, like in a B.Ed, what exactly you must teach, like how many credits you must have, what goes into it, etc. It's all really specified in these documents. Anyway, the point was they also say, sorry for my scrolling. Let's scroll on the bottom, Annex A, sorry. They also specify what the collective roles of teachers in a school are. And so the question, as I go through these roles, I've just shortened it for the slide. As I go through the roles, the question I'm asking in the back of your mind is how does that relate to everything else you were saying in the previous slides around who has control, around what a school should look like in terms of sociological, institutional, general enlightenment. Okay, so I'm going to scroll quickly again. Sorry. Okay. So they are saying that as a teacher, you must be a specialist in a phase, in a subject, a mediator of learning so that you can be sensitive to diverse learner needs, an interpreter and a designer of learning programs. So what they're saying here is that they give you the CAPS curriculum. You've all seen the CAPS curriculum, I hope, by now. You've seen, and then you can take that curriculum and design and interpret it for your class, for your demographic, that you are capable of doing that. Like an activity that maybe all kids can't get, that you can do something with it to make it reach your specific children. So that's what they mean by interpreter and designer. Leader, administrator, and manager. Yeah, you are an administrator more than the other two. So, but a leader and manager of like everything from, and this does matter. Don't think of, when I say it, I'm not saying it flippantly. Like how you manage those sports things after school. You're going to be the head of some sport. You'll be the head of tennis, even if you don't like tennis, depending on the school you're at. You have to take a sport and be involved. You have to lead that sport and manage that sport. I had to do hockey. I hate hockey at one school. I like other sports. I do like sport, just don't like hockey. And I had to do hockey, and that was, wow, 2013, that school. And I've still got this picture that I took one day of like my hockey children and some weird one where they were standing what looked like a heart shape. It was just, anyway, long story short, I didn't have to like it to make it good for those kids. Yeah. So leader, administrator, and manager. So I often find that the school life outside of the classroom is a lot more for you to lead and manage. In a scholar and a researcher, this is often lacking. So when we talk about being critical and questioning the system and questioning schools or questioning the curriculum, we don't see lots coming out from teachers. Also, they are busy and they're always busy. But so we expect that from them. An assessor who can assess work, and this means a lot more, not just tick, 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 but use assessment as feedback, use assessment properly. We don't do that, a lot of that. Like formative and summative, we don't always use it for its purpose. And then the community and pastoral role, also one that I think is quite underrated, which depending on who you are, but it's hard to not care when you're at the school. Okay, so if you look at those, I mean, they sound great, don't they? That they should cover us for everything. Like, what is your role? So if you look at this and you think of that case study with the child who's paralyzed, are you covered here? What will it be? Community and pastoral. You know, for you to care about the tree that was hanging there for a long time. Not about the incident and when the child got hurt, that's not what I'm talking about. But about preventative action, responding to the parents. You know, when it was quiet for a while and the parents didn't hear anything. Like, is that covered in this anywhere? Can it be covered in this? So again, just some questions for thought. I am aware of the time and I want to leave at least a minute or two in case you have a question. So again, just questions. Are any of these more or less important than the others? I haven't really answered some of that, but is it more important to be a specialist than it is to be community and pastoral care? Like if you're a doctor, you're a specialist doctor, but you have sucky bedside manners, like you're horrible, like at any kind of bedside manners. Is that okay? So like, it is what I'm saying, because that's kind of the norm. But is that okay for education? Like, can you have one over the other, like in another industry? Questions no, I don't need you to answer, just need you to think about. I'm pausing dramatically on purpose, just for you to think about. Next one. Do these roles line up well with the sociological, institutional, and alignment framework? I'm not going to click all the way back now. I hope you can remember some of it. Do they align with that? Does anything here speak to like general enlightenment? Do you think it's built into everything? The sense of general enlightenment, does that speak to you being a researcher and that you're searching for more? Does it play in as an assessor, that you provide like feedback that isn't only about the book, that is maybe about the person? I used to try and do that. I think that's one of the things I was really good at, is getting to know like, and only like through their work, you know, getting to know them and why and how they answer questions, when they answered it in a hurry. And so when it came to like parent feedback, parent teacher nights, yeah, I could rock those, because somehow I knew those kids inside and out, and I could, yeah, I wasn't good at everything at school. I was not a good administrator at all. Okay. And is there anything missing that you expected to see, or is there anything that surprised you on this list? I think there's probably some stuff that we think are missing. I'm going to speak for all of us. And I think maybe the surprise that there is a list. Okay, let me finish up quickly. So, this again comes from the same document. I won't go back there, but so those are just get right, the roles of the teacher, the roles, and then these are the competencies. That's what you do, and this is what you should be, this is what you should know. Knowledge, you should be able to practice it, to communicate, mediate, understand people, and be professional. Well, that's so straightforward. I'm not going to read that out to you. Those are some of the basic competencies. So I think you got this now from the conversation. And that's why I didn't want to say it early on, because at my grand finale, for most of those questions I asked you, there is no one right answer, which many of you know. Okay, so it's never just one thing. It's always going to be a combination. Okay. And I like this part. Often all at once and in tension. I love the idea of tension between these things. That means that we keep questioning, we keep looking, we keep probing. We don't overtake it as that's enough. Who controls it shapes what it becomes. So state, parent, community, or individual. Okay. We're trying, and love tries to hold several of these together. I want to judge and say not doing so well, but I want to also say, hey, we are very young. We really are. We just really are young in terms of all of this. And that the teacher carries all of it. Okay. So there's a lot. That's the last big finale. Like, what is your role? Everything. You have to be perfect all the time. Okay, everybody, 5 minutes left. Are there any? Sorry, I know I went until the end. I said I'd be soon faster. I'm sorry. I stuck. The balance back at it. Yeah. Okay. Anything from your side? Are you okay? It's like, was it weird? Does it make sense? Maybe that, like, does it all make sense? What I was trying to say? Since I feel like it all lives in my head and doesn't always come out properly. Yeah. Around your role and how it fits in and all the various like tensions that exist out there. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Okay. I won't push you for a lot more now. To say thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up. Showing up is half of it. Then, like I said, not next week, the week after. So it's going to be slow. I'll put up some YouTube clips and stuff for you to watch, if just to keep you going and keep you thinking. Please work on the ICE tasks. Don't stress about the other assignment yet. I already showed you. It's not a lot of work to do there. I think more important is just for you to like show up and have these conversations. I think that will help you a lot. So we'll go over a little bit more of this next time, and maybe a bit of a practical example, and then take it from there. I'm only a message away. If I take more than a day or two for your email, drop me a Teams message or just send the email again. Don't sit there and get angry. Okay? Give me a shout if you need anything. Talk soon. Have a good evening and all the best. Bye, 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 bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Okay, bye.